Ladies and gents, join us this evening as the current Livingston right back, also formerly of Walsall, United, Dumbarton. Have I missed him out there, Nicky?
Stenny.
Aye, you're a permanent as well, mate. That's right, mate. How do you, Nicky, mate? How keeping all right?
Yes, all good, thanks. How about you, mate? You good?
Aye, mate, getting through this rubbish, man. But I was going to ask you, what's it like being a football player during COVID now, especially a full-time man like yourself? I mean, it must be weird playing with no fans, but some sort of normality for you at least, mate, eh?
To be fair, that's what I was going to say. It's, there's a lot of people in a worse position than there is, you know what I mean? As you said, it is a bit different. You go into training and it's different. You obviously a lot of the time used to travel in groups and stuff like that, car schools and that. So that's all gone. Even in the dressing room, it's kind of split into two dressing rooms now, just to minimise, contact. So that I think it's to do with if people catch COVID. If you've got less seas in a dressing room, the less people have to self-isolate.
Just the risk.
So, the risk basically. So everything's a wee bit different. But as I said, mate, at least we're able to do our job, unlike probably most people there now. You know what I mean?
Aye, that's what it is, mate. Obviously, mate, big week for yourself. Cup final on Sunday. Nerves yet, mate? And just to mention, like you mentioned there about the castle, sorry, mate. Is it right easier travelling up individually now to the Hampden now?
Yeah.
Is that what's happening? I've seen that radio
we can.
actually.
It kind of get decided start of the week. The club kind of gave us an option. Basically, you can travel in buses, but it will be. It's a full coach, so it's a big kind of 50-odd seater. But it's like there'll be 6 seats on the bus, so the club would need. If you've got 20-odd players, including coaching staff, but the club would probably need 6, 7 buses. But the big thing is just we get not caught out, but we got I think it was the Aberdeen game we played a few weeks ago, and one of the boys on the coach caught COVID, and two people that were closest to him on the bus then had to isolate, who tested negative, like always continued to test negative, but they were sitting close enough to him that they have to then isolate. So I think the club kind of asked us, and we kind of took the decision, we'll just listen, it's not great, but we'll just drive, and it just stops anything like that happens. If unfortunately somebody does catch it, no one will have to miss the next 3 or 4 games after that, you know what I mean?
Aye. Hopefully this is all the season this happens, mate, because obviously some of the announcements this week, you're hoping this is it, this season, next year, more kind of normal. You get a proper pre-season, mate, and next season get fans back in, name areas changing and rubbish and stuff like that. Hopefully next season, mate.
Definitely, because it definitely has an effect. You know what I mean? This season, this is the first time I've played, obviously national final. First time I've actually played at Parkhead this year as well, and it's empty, so it's no. You know what I mean? It's everyone kind of asks you what's it like playing in places like that, and it's. I don't know. It doesn't. You don't notice it, to be honest with you, because it's empty. There's no one there. So, but listen, as you said, hopefully it will get back to normal next year, because it's. I'm sure every player will tell you probably miss having that kind of the fans at the side of the park.
100%, mate. 100%. We'll go back on to the cup final build-up and stuff like that, and current life at Livy, mate. But back to the start of now, mate. So where was it you grew up? Was it the Drum you originally from? I know. Your dad.
No, I'm originally from. Well, I say originally. I've kind of never really moved until I went to Walsall. I've stayed in Bishop Briggs, so I've always kind of been Bishop Briggs. Well, saying that until 4 days ago, I'm in Rob Royston now. I moved about 4 days ago. So I always been Bishop Briggs, but my dad was just always. He was always with the Drumchapel Amateurs as long as kind of I can remember. To be fair, so.
Was that your boys' club growing up then, was it, mate? Was that who you kind of...
I was West Park. West Park when I was really young. Eastern Bartonshire, West Park. And then I eventually did play Drumchapel Amateurs. I think under 15s I went to Drumchapel and played there a couple of years before I eventually moved to Dumbarton. But the Drumchapel, it just seems like... Probably grew up as much in Drumchapel as I did in Bishop Briggs, to be fair, mate. Going to football with my dad every time they were training or had games.
You mentioned your dad there, mate. Like, I always know him pretty well. I keep touching him, especially all Rangers and Celtic kind of banter. But he was a big influence in my career, so I can imagine himself. He was a big. For anybody who doesn't know, old big Charlie Devlin, the top man at Dunchapel Amateurs. So it was like, and growing up, was he hard on you, Nicky, or was he positive influence?
Not really, to be fair. It was
hard on me, the bastard.
Don't say that. There's other people that got it a wee bit, not so much me. To be fair, I only a couple of times, because obviously when he was taking helping take Dumbarton's under 19s, when I played a couple of times, I kind of struggled to cope with the fact he was the manager, like shouting at me, if you know what I mean. It was almost like you're my dad, like, and I would maybe bite back a wee bit when I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have done it, but it was just a case of, you shouldn't argue back with managers really, but it was just because
it's your dad,
it's my dad, like my dad's shouting at me at the side of the park, and if you can't turn around and have a go back at your dad, then you can't have a go back at anyone, you know what I mean? But at the same time, he was the manager, so he was helping taking it, so I shouldn't have really done it. But apart from that, he wasn't really hard on me, to be fair, mate. He was just obviously a massive influence, just because as I said, I was always running about in Chapel Amateurs since I can remember, to be fair. I think a lot of people talk about the Hibby. A lot of people talk about the games they used to go and watch, and they used to go and watch Celtic all the time, or used to go and watch Rangers all the time, whatever it was. Like, I just always used to go and watch Chapel Amateurs all the time. That was just on a Saturday, I played in the morning for my boys' club, and then in the afternoon, I went and watched Chapel. You know what I mean? That was just the way it was, to be fair. That it was a big influence, kind of that way. It was obviously the first kind of major environment I was involved in with football was to do with him.
Mm-hmm. So was it him that basically opened the door for Dumbarton for that? Was that, mate? So
it was obviously he knew Jim Chapman. Jim Chapman and Graham Diamond at the time were both at Dumbarton. And Graham, obviously, Graham's from Bishopbriggs as well, who he's really close pals, to be fair, with my dad. And then just through the two of them, to be fair, it kind of came about, and I think I came halfway through one of the seasons, and I was with under 17s at Dumbarton first. Then the under 19s kind of the next, probably the 6 months from after that, the next season, and then eventually I got involved with the first team.
How did you find that first step up for playing boys club football to pro youth football? Because you were a late bloomer, that kind of such, because that age, that's kind of like 15, 16, 17, that's kind of when you're making that step maybe towards which you obviously eventually made with great effect. But how did you find that at first? Because obviously, like you're saying, again, playing your dad, you're playing professional football basically at that stage. How did you find that adapting to that, mate?
Yeah, it was definitely kind of different. You know what I mean? It was. I was going through when I was playing at the drum, and we used to play on Sundays, Sunday kind of mornings. So yeah, I mean, I played with the boys, some of them for the middle of the drum, and you could tell when you turned up on the Sunday, some of them were absolutely stinking of booze. Right? Even obviously, well, as I said, it was probably 16-year-olds at that time, and I was like, I didn't really drink or anything like that. I wasn't. But some of the boys, you could tell, and you're just looking at them, you're like, he's going to be absolutely brutal today.
Listen, mate, that was like Tony Wallace every Sunday with us, mate, by the way.
And eventually, when you got to, as you said, Lynn, a kind of professional setup and stuff like that, a lot of the time it wasn't as obvious, or it wasn't like, especially when you kind of moved into the first team. But I think when I moved into the first team, the environment, I think a lot of the time, a lot of people find it hard, just in terms of they're not used to that kind of cutthroat, just win. Whereas I think because I was so young, and even though it was my dad's team at amateur level, I was brought up in like a dressing room almost, all like from as I said, from very, very young. So I kind of was used to the atmosphere and the environment of, you know what I mean, you need to win. Just win, and that's what kind of matters. So I think I made the step up that way quite well. But don't get me wrong, I think it still is a massive jump, and probably a kind of big issue with maybe why some people don't quite kind of accustomised to that jump.
It's probably the mentality, probably like you say, you've been installed in there, mate. It's probably kicked you on a wee bit. Talk about mentality. Like, I remember when you first kind of came in, and I remember your dad had your younger brother down to Dumbarton each now and again and stuff like that, wee Johnny. But I also remember when you came in, and And to be fair, you're only, like you say, you're only there a couple of years, mate, till you actually went in the first team. And the thing that struck me about you, mate, and I remember when I came back with a broken ankle, we were training with Kenny, doing it, I can't remember in the part in Dumbarton, but you went for this boy that a game with him, like a short space of time, who just joined Dumbarton, mate, became a man physically, mate. You were a flying machine, you're still a flying machine, obviously, but I think everybody can see that kind of change. Was there something that maybe your dad says to you, that you said, no, I've got this chance now, I can see a bit of pathway, I'm going to Devlin away from football and become a professional player? Something maybe going off in you, mate.
Part of me was probably when I was probably under 13s, 14s. I was with Hamilton, Ackies, and obviously at the time, I mean, you're still a young boy. You're thinking you're in Hamilton's youth set up. You're obviously miles away from it, but you just think, I'm going to play in the first team at Hamilton, and then I'll move to here, and then I'll do this, do that. And obviously, I get released at Hamilton under 14s, and then I just went back, as I said, to play boys club. I think it was probably then when I got a chance to go back to like Dumbarton, I get a chance to go back to the kind of professional setup again. It was almost one like I was like, well, and like this is I've got almost
an opportunity
for you, big opportunity. I know obviously going in, I knew the first team manager. Obviously, I was still with under 17s, but I knew the first team manager liked me. I knew his assistant liked me, so it was almost like, I mean, if I can go in here and do well and try and kick on, then there might be an opportunity for me to end up pushing into the first team here and playing games, and then you never know kind of what can happen. So I think it was probably the fact that I felt like I got a second chance at going back into a youth setup at Dumbarton that probably the kind of main.
Do you want to be a bit,
mate? But the main kind of thing I didn't want to let go and have a right go at it.
Because like I say, mate, you become basically a flying machine. But I remember doing pre-season and you were just flying, mate. I remember
that's my game, eh?
Tuesday.
Aye. That's when I come alive pre-season.
But to be fair, like that's for a young age, mate. So it's obviously stood you in good stead. But like I say, like I think that for my memories of you, it was basically Dumbarton just basically get promoted, and I think like there's a bit of change at the kind of setup. Like Joyce had left the kind of young youth team and stuff like that. But I kind of, I don't know, it was a kind of wash it because Chappie ended up getting sacked, whatever. But Chappie gave you your debut, eh?
Yeah, Chappie gave me my debut on the Saturday, and then on the Tuesday he got sacked.
Was that? Is that what happened? Talk us through that, mate.
Well, I was at first you're obviously buzzing, eh? You make your debut. So all you kind of wanted as you're growing up, you just want to be a footballer. You want to say you're a professional footballer. And obviously made my debut, as I said, on the Saturday, which obviously you're buzzing with. And then, as I said, on the Tuesday, we were training at Tory Glen. We were outside on a Tuesday at Tory Glen. So I remember kind of arriving at Tory Glen, and the captain was saying to us, like, we need to go inside. We're having a meeting first before training. And I was obviously still, as I said, still young, first kind of time in a first team like set up or anything. So I just thought maybe meetings like that happen all the time. What we're talking about, because obviously we get beaten the Saturday, so I was like, maybe we'll just go talk about the game. And Chappie said that he was leaving, and Alan Adamson was going to take over. Like the assistant was then going to take over till at least the end of the season. It was, and obviously at first I'm just kind of like, I'm done here, eh? Like the manager just gave me my debut 2 days later, 3 days later, he's gone. I was like, this couldn't be me. Like I could have, listen, I've maybe played a professional game, but it could be my one and only here because you never know what can happen. And the assistant manager might not like you, might not kind of, because we weren't in a good position at the time. We were doing the bottom.
I was struggling. I remember that, mate.
It was maybe probably a big decision for Chappie at first, but then the assistant manager to keep playing me because I was only 17. I mean, I think a lot of the time when you're in a position like that, managers tend to turn to their experienced players, the boys that have maybe been there or done that. So obviously at the time I was kind of like, I could be done here.
Sorry, but mate. But how did the team take to you? How were like the kind of pros in that team take to you? Such did you feel as if obviously you're talking about maybe the gaffer might not like you stuff like, but how did you maybe feel training with the first team? They're obviously going to play with. Do you feel as if you're fitting in or whatever?
I think they were good with me, to be fair, because for quite a while I think I was still I was playing with the 19s, but I'd started training a bit with the first team. So it wasn't a case of like I was almost just come in first day and I played a game or anything like that. So I had been playing for them for a bit. And the first team at the time, to be fair, they had a lot of good pros and stuff like that, and boys that did look after me, and that Ryan McStay and that were brilliant with me. And then eventually Mark Gohaney and stuff like that, and Paul Nugent. They were all kind of. There was loads of them at the club, to be fair, mate, that were actually good with me. Big Shay.
McStay was class, Big Shay was class, man.
Big Shay was brilliant. And I think, to be fair, at the time, I wasn't like the first one of the youth boys to come through. There was boys before me in terms of like McNiff, Big Mush at the time, Daly. There was a lot of boys that played first team, so it wasn't like a brand new thing for the first team that, here's this young boy coming up. Like, we don't usually get young boys. There was boys kind of readily coming through all the time almost. So it wasn't as if it was a brand new thing for the first team players, you know what I mean?
Like you say, I think that was a good thing about Chappie. Plenty of boys for your team did get that chance. I think, like you say, is that I don't know, but you've named after Maester there, but there was always a pathway there, and I think that was the exciting thing for boys like yourself and boys who did end up kicking on a wee bit, because it gave them that opportunity, like you say. Maybe you may have not got that anywhere else at Dumbarton, but like you look for that second chance. Like you say, mate.
I think there was like probably from the team that we were involved in. You're probably talking about 7 or 8 boys probably played with Dumbarton, like made appearances. So, and that's probably not, especially probably lower levels. That's not really heard of, eh? Like you don't really get a lot of like boys, many boys coming through, especially lower divisions. It seems to be more experienced players, and so it was good. Jim, as you said, Chappie was really good with that, and I think he wanted that because obviously it could help the club if they could produce players and probably then move them on, to be fair.
100%, mate. So for that kind of moment on, mate, how did it kind of go for you? Because basically we'll come to the kind of Motherwell speed and stuff like down the line, but how did it go for you then? Because you kind of kicked on a wee bit.
Yeah, it was good. Hard to say, but obviously with Chappie then moving and the new manager Aaron Adamson taking the job, he then played me, and he played me every game from the game I made my debut. He played me then every game till the end of the season. And I don't know, as I said, I don't know if maybe Jim Chapman would have done the exact same. I don't know if he would have maybe took me in and out. And I don't know if I was maybe kind of lucky it was Alan at the time that then, because it was good experience for me, you know what I mean? As I said, we were in a bad position. We were fighting, we were in a dogfight, to be honest with you. And to be fair, luckily we managed to get out it, but it was a tough season for your first season, still only being 17. It was tough to kind of first bit in men's football, and you know, I mean, you're going every week and you're having to fight and scrap and kind of get any kind of points you can get to try and pull yourself away from the relegation. Just thankfully we managed to do that, to be fair.
Was Jack Ross in there at that point? I can't remember.
Jack Ross was in at my first. I went back to Dumbarton on loan. And when I went back to Dumbarton on loan, he was there. He came in as the assistant eventually to Alan Adamson. And then when Alan eventually left, I was there when I went on loan. Alan left during that, and Jack Ross kind of took it interim before Ian Murray got the job. So Jack Ross was there kind of as the assistant manager.
Right, we'll come back on that, mate. We'll come back on that, mate. So, like we says, mate, so you've done well in your kind of first year, then we'll go to this kind of period where you've ended up getting the move to Motherwell. I think you went back. Did you go back on loan? Was that right?
I went back to Motherwell. I went to Motherwell, and then towards the end of the season, that was my first spell at Steny. I kind of done a Steny, Dumbarton, Steny. Like I kind of went in a circle, to be fair, at one point. I went to Steny and then Dumbarton on loan as well.
See, when you first get the kind of contact about Motherwell, first who's a gaffer there, but you feeling you've basically worked with levels here, mate. You're talking about from the boys club to that. What was your kind of feelings? Just another massive step up? Did you feel like I've got you up my game here, or did you feel maybe you were even ready at that stage, mate, for that move to the SPL especially?
To be fair, I wasn't it wasn't meant to be Motherwell, to be honest with you. I went down when I was at Dumbarton. I went down to Preston for a week. They were obviously at the Championship at the time, and I went down on a Monday. I was meant to go down Monday to Friday. I was training, And then I was coming back up the road, and I had to come back up the road on the Friday because obviously I was still at Dumbarton, so we were then playing on the Saturday. I had a first team game or whatever on the Saturday, so
Right.
I was down training Monday to Friday down there, and Dan Ferguson was the manager at the time.
All right, aye.
And went down, and on the Friday when I was coming back up, I'd actually agreed to go back down the next Friday to sign. So I was going to sign for Preston. Like as I said, I went down there for the week. They obviously thought that I'd done all right when I came in training. I was with the under, 18s. I think it was 18s at the time in England. That's the way they work their kind of youth setup. So I was with 18s, and they said they wanted me to sign. And as I said, I was going down the next Friday to do that. And then on the Saturday, I can't remember who they were. I should probably remember it as well. The first team, can't remember who they were playing, and they lost. And on the Monday morning, Dan Ferguson gets sacked. So
Jesus, man.
And at that point, they then just said everything we're doing, any kind of transfers in or out, everything's just completely stopping just now. Because it was during January, and they just said everything just no more. Like, we're stopping now. Nobody's moving at all. So I was obviously at first, I was kind of like, fucking hell, man.
Man.
I got my head round, that was me, because obviously I was still at school, so I was like, got my head round, I'm going to be leaving school, going down to England, whatever. And then it just didn't materialise. So when the Motherwell opportunity eventually came up, I was like, straight away, I was just like, get it done, get it signed. Like, I want to know that I'm going to go in full time somewhere in the summer. Because obviously I was, gutted, to be fair, that the Preston one fell through, to be honest with you. But
who's it you spoke to in Motherwell? Who kind of made the first contact Motherwell?
Gordon Young. So he was the youth team manager at Motherwell, the under 19s and then under 20s it was. So he was the first one, and then obviously I spoke to Stuart McCall and stuff like that as well, and they kind of made it clear. Like, I mean, they wanted me to
go in. Brera.
Yeah, they wanted me to go in, and Kenny Black was his assistant. Kenny Black was brilliant as well. So
what was the kind of top end when you're going to Motherwell? Was it basically in the youth to maybe kick on to the first team, or was it maybe on the fringes? What was the kind of, what were they telling you football wise, mate?
To be fair, I knew at the time. Obviously, I was still. By the time I signed for Motherwell, when I moved there, I was still 17, so I knew. And like, when I went to Motherwell were, that was when, they had the Champions League qualification and stuff like that. They were sitting third, I think, nearly every year. I think that's finished to do with the Rangers.
Finished second one year,
Second 1 year. So I knew like I wasn't going to go in and automatically just, just play. I knew where I was coming from, and I knew where Motherwell were at the time. So I was in with the youth team to begin with, and obviously a couple of months in there, and I'd started the season kind of really well, to be honest with you. And then at training, one of the days at training, I think we were meant to be playing Celtic in the youth team on the Friday, and on the Tuesday or something, the reserves were playing in a bounce game. Wednesday, sorry, the reserves were playing in a bounce game, and Stuart McCall wanted me to play in the bounce game. But Youngie, the youth team manager, was saying, obviously, because we'd started the season well with the youth team, so I think he said to Stuart McCall, he was like, listen, we've started really well, we've got Celtic on Friday, don't want them having to play Wednesday, Friday. And I think they kind of agreed, right, no problem, we'll not play them. And then at the training, I done my knee. And then that was me till, I think that was in the, September, start of September, and then I came back, played the last. That was when I went out and went to Stenhousemuir, the last 5 games of the season. So you're talking probably April-ish time that I eventually, because the league season under 19s finished, so there was nothing. There was no games for me or anything like that. So that's why eventually the first time I went to Stenhousemuir, it was just a case of, can I go somewhere and play 5 or 6 games, whatever it is, just to get playing again. Because I probably missed about 7-8 months of that season. So straight away, it was kind of like, fucking hell, maybe a full-time football kind of day.
I know, mate. We've had some luck up to this point, ain't you, man? Fucking gaffers getting sacked and injuries,
Gaffers and disaster.
So I'll kind of I like you kind of tell your own story here, like you say, the kind of the loan moves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But was there ever a point in this that you maybe panicking, maybe like it wasn't going to work out for you, or were you confident you were going to put the work in? Was it maybe you ever panic, or you just kind of say, I'll get through this stage, I'll get through this stage and see what happens, kind of?
See, to be honest with you, mate, when I came back from my knee, like when I came back from my knee injury at my first loan spell at Steny was good. Like I went there and I think it was kind of the adrenaline of you're eventually back playing after 8 months. I felt like I was playing well, but to be fair, the next year when I went out loan a couple of times, I was miles off it, mate. I knew myself, like I wasn't anywhere near the level that maybe like that got me to Motherwell, if you know what I mean. It got me maybe that move. I wasn't playing as well, and I wasn't as fit as I probably should have been. And it took me a lot longer, mate, to like get over the injury than it probably should have, to be honest. And it was not from anywhere else, more myself, to be honest with you.
So
I just don't
think
think
maybe that told you, mate, maybe, or was it maybe just kind of not a lack of motivation, but just maybe kind of take a wee step off it?
Potentially, I think it was. You know what I mean? I done like my rehab stuff and all that. Everything I done was brilliant, and Motherwell were very good with that. To be honest with you, the two physios there were brilliant. Kind of put me through like my rehab and stuff like that, because obviously I was still. I mean, I was still 17 when I done the injury, so I was kind of. I didn't know what was going on, and kind of mentally, you're kind of like, is this me done? Is this me? Like, is it? Am I finished now? Whatever. So they were brilliant, but it's when I came back from it. I should have definitely done like my rehab stuff like that. I knew I should have kept it going, but I probably just got, to be honest with you, I just probably got slack with it, and I didn't. As I said, when it came to the games and stuff like that, I just wasn't. I don't know if it was maybe. I don't really know what it was, to be honest with you, mate. I just knew within myself I wasn't playing the same as I probably knew I could, and as I said, I wasn't playing at the levels that first got me a move to Motherwell. And it took me a bit of a wake up call for you, mate. Yeah, majorly, and even when I left Motherwell to go to Stenhousemuir, the year I played there, like signed there, I knew myself as well. Like come the end of the season, I was like, I knew I didn't have a good season. I had an all right season. I didn't have a great season, anything like that. But I knew myself. I was like you're not performing the way you could or you should be. And it wasn't until I went to Ayr that I got that back, to be honest with you, mate.
What age were you when this was kind of happening? You must have been 1920 at this point,
18, 19. Well, in saying that, sorry, 18 I would have been, because I was 19 eventually when I signed with Ayr.
I may have having a good time for you then, mate, because maybe, like you say, maybe you got up the arse that maybe needed at the time, and maybe a wake-up call, what you say, mate. So,
definitely, and as I said, I don't really think I got myself like back to playing, as I said, to the levels that I knew I could get to until I probably moved to Ayr, mate, to be honest with you. That kind of, as I said, that year at Stenhousemuir, I knew as well. I wasn't playing as well as I could have.
Before we come to that permanent move to Steny, how did it come to an end then, basically, for you at Motherwell? Was there basically no kind of pathway for you, or did you have a kind of mutual agreement that the best thing for you was to go and play football and get yourself on that kind of find your feet basically as a player?
I knew myself, because obviously, as I said, I had the two kind of loan spells in my second year at Motherwell. Went to Stenhousemuir and went to Dumbarton first this time, and then Stenhousemuir the second time. But as I said, I knew like I wasn't like playing well enough to go back to Motherwell and get a new deal. And as I said, Motherwell were flying at the time. I think it was something mad. Tom Haitley had paid, he was playing right back, and he played something like 150 or something like games in a row or something like that. And he was playing well. It wasn't as if he was just playing; he was playing well. And as I said, Motherwell were flying. I knew myself I wasn't going to get a new contract. I didn't, to be honest with you, mate, I didn't like deserve a new contract or anything. So eventually, kind of spoke to Stuart McCall on that, and listen, he was brand new. He was brilliant about it. He just kind of said, listen, unfortunately, it's no working out here for you. You're not going to play, and obviously the best thing for you is to go and sign somewhere, keep playing games. I was obviously 18 at the time, so still young enough to go and kick on again. So don't worry about
Definitely.
this. So nah, it was no kind of hard feelings or anything like that when I left Motherwell, mate.
Aye. So like you say, mate, you end up at Steny, mate. This is your kind of chance now to kind of kick on a wee bit and kind of get a run of football you probably need at this time, mate. How was that season for you?
At first, it started not too bad, to be honest. We started the season really well at Steny. Martin Corrigan was the manager, which was a big attraction, to be honest, to go in there. Because obviously, kind of leaving Motherwell, he was, a legend at Motherwell. He played a lot of games for them, Premier League. He played my position, so my kind of thought process was like, I'm going to go there and he's going to be able to make me better. Like, he's going to teach me, but he's going to show me different things that maybe I've not kind of learned or whatever, and I can kind of develop. And as I say, we started the season not too bad, and then midway through, we kind of hit a bad run, and then Marty eventually left, and then towards the end of the season, I just didn't. As I said, I didn't play great towards the end of the season. Nah, I didn't. To be fair, it wasn't as if I was like I wasn't having nightmares and stuff like that. I was still playing every week, to be honest with you. But I just from yourself, you know what I mean. You know yourself. See, when you come off a game and you're like, or you've had a few weeks that you're not been playing well. You just know yourself. You're like, something's not quite right, or something's no working. But it's not quite there for me now. And as I said, at the end of that season, I ended up leaving, and it wasn't until the next year that I probably got that kind of that bug back for it and that feeling back.
Was that the season Rangers were in the league?
Rangers were in. Rangers were in it was League League One at the time.
Was Jolly that season? Was that the game? Was that the season Sean Higgins scored the penalty and he's lapped in the man for it?
That was the second time. The second game at Ibrox, to be honest, the first game at Ibrox that year, we got absolutely battered. And I think it finished 8th. I remember at the time, Rangers, I think they scored after, I think John Daly might get a hat-trick that day, to be honest with you, and I think he scored after about 30 seconds. I just always remember, I conceded the 5th goal, and the way the balls went in, I'm on the deck, and I've turned to, like, as I've looked at the ball going in, I've turned in, the captain was lying on the ground as well, big Ross McMillan, and the two of us have just kind of looked at each other, and we're both at the exact same time just kind of looked at the scoreboard, and it's obviously said 5-0, but it said like 59 minutes, and the two of us are just like, we've still, and obviously Spanish Fair, you're part-time, so boys are still, like, can't compete at like that level against like Rangers and that fitness-wise, so you knew the last half hour is going to be the worst half hour, because that's when you're really almost...
It's toying me, mate.
So it was almost a kind of... Two just looked at each other and looked at it at the exact same time. It was just a kind of... I think we both just puffed our teeth out as if...
Get me off the bat, man.
Another half hour.
How was that first experience for you, mate? Sorry, mate.
Eh?
How was your experience of actually playing at Ibrox for 50,000, mate? That must have been a kind of... Like, even though we all know you're a Partick Thistle fan, right enough. But
to be fair, it was brilliant, mate, because that was, as you said, that was the first time I'd ever played in front of a crowd like that. You know what I mean? And obviously, from the year before, Nicky left Motherwell the same time as me and signed for Rangers. And the year before, I used to do Nicky Law's boots. So I was speaking to him in the kind of the morning of that game, and he texted me a picture, and I think it was maybe the picture of Rangers or something put up on their Twitter, and it was like a picture of obviously Ibrox, and I just remember the day, like that day, it was absolutely scorching, mate. I think it was Armed Forces Day.
Oh, was it?
It was absolutely like rammed. You know what I mean? There was guys coming down to
troopers, stuff
like that. So the place was absolutely full, and I remember when you're walking out in the tunnel. That was the first time I'd obviously walked out there as well, and he was actually beside me as we were walking out, and he said something about this is why you want to play football or something like that. It was something along those lines, and then to be fair, after that, as soon as I got outside, for the next 90 minutes, you couldn't hear a thing. Like, honestly, try to speak to people in the park is just, impossible, especially when, as I said, Rangers scored after about 30 seconds. So, I mean, when you go to places like that, the first thing you want to do, get through the first 10 minutes. Get through the first 10 minutes, hopefully start, maybe they get on their back or whatever. I mean, 30 seconds in, we've lost a goal or whatever it is. Like, the place is just fucking buzzing, eh? Honestly, you could not speak to people on the park. It was incredible.
Was your old man there?
Probably no, the drum probably had a game. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was there. But I know he wasn't. He definitely wasn't at the 3-3 game because it was my mum and my uncle. What you say, my cousin was maybe there. Mum, my uncle, and my cousin was at the 3-3 game because there's actually a picture that when we scored the third goal, he's my uncle, and he's kind of, there's hardly any Stenhousemuir fans there, so you can pick everybody out, and he's kind of got like 3 fingers up to like the Rangers to draw 3-3, but he's got 3 fingers up. I think Stenhousemuir must have used the picture or something like that. Obviously the fans celebrating, but he was in it. But no, I don't think my dad was there. The 8-0 game, thankfully.
Like you said, but mate, to go back to that 8-0 drubbing at Ibrox, mate, for a part-time team, to then go back a few months later, mate, 3-3, mate, that's some resilience, mate. I think that maybe happened to the Rangers. I think after a couple of games, teams are getting used to getting how they played, but I think it just shows a level down the lower leagues, mate. There's a lot of good players down at lows. People that maybe don't consider the fact there's boys who have played top level football in Scotland to maybe drop down for now and again, but it was some mentality for yourselves, man, to come back to that, man.
Yeah, I think even that, the 3-3 game, you know what I mean? I think we were actually winning twice. I think we went 1 each, and then I think we went 2-1 up, and then 2-2, 3-2, and then to be fair, Higgy got a penalty. I'm not really, I've seen it back. I've seen it back a couple of times at the time. I'm not really convinced it was a penalty, to be honest with you. I think it was one of them. It was like I'm sure it was from like a corner. Somebody said like the refs gave it for like pulling and that, but you know what corners are like, man. Can it go? It's not every time it's pulling, you know what I mean? But that's like thankfully for us, he gave it, and Higgy kind of showed a lot of, as I say, a lot of bottle, to be fair, because as I said, we were winning twice to then, you know I mean, going behind. It's hard to do that in football at the best of times, never mind, I mean, playing at Ibrox. So, it was a good result, to be fair.
Higgy fair shares that on Twitter and Facebook anyway, man.
Yeah,
so
he likes
shared it all
day,
mate.
He does like it. He does like it, to be fair.
Fair play.
To be honest, I think the commentary after that was probably the best part. The guy going Higgy was brilliant. But it was a good good result for us in that season anyway.
So back on yourself, mate. So like you say, you end up going to United. How'd that come about? Because like you said, you've maybe not done what you probably you maybe thought you could have done better, but imagine you on the calls to like him to even sign you, mate. So how'd that come about, mate? What was he saying to you as you've joined there?
See, to be honest, I felt that I was very lucky, to be honest with you, because like from my point of view, I was like, obviously I was leaving Stenhousemuir, but you know, I felt like I was going to a bigger club than Stenhousemuir when I was signing for it, you know what I mean? So I felt in that way I was kind of lucky, and I think it actually came about. Kevin McKinley, he was the left back at Steny the year I was at Steny, and he had signed for Ayr, and it was Mark Roberts at the time, so he was the manager, and he knew Kevin, so he signed him, and then I think obviously managers, new players, they were talking whatever, and manager says, we really need a right back in, and it was through Keggs, to be honest with you, Keggs, that Kevin then said, he was like, Nicky, he's like, he's leaving, I know he's leaving Stenhousemuir, he's like 100%, bring him in. And I went down there to trained a couple of days, and then eventually signed. And as I said, I was delighted because in my view, I was leaving Stenhousemuir, but I was moving to a bigger club, I thought. And it was almost, as I said, the way it's kind of worked out, maybe lucky, because at the time when I was leaving Stenhousemuir, probably a right good chance I could have fell out the game, to be honest with you.
Maybe you've said, mate, like you've maybe been doing a bit of good luck, mate, to be honest with you. Like you kind of said with injuries and gaffers getting sacked, stuff like that. So maybe this was kind of a break, like we say.
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
Like we had Ian McCall's boy on a few weeks ago, Ross Docherty, and he speaks volumes of him. How do you go in with McCall? Obviously, he's end up makes you the captain and stuff like that, mate. So I take it you must have gone on pretty well,
Aye. To be fair, no word of lie. He genuinely texts me the day, saying good luck for Sunday. He signs his messages off every time IMC. So I don't know if he knows, like, people can save phone numbers and stuff like that. They know who's texting them. But no, he was like, as you said, he made me captain and that down there. And that he came in kind of halfway through my first season. So for the second season and third season, he made me captain. And as I said, I was only 20 at the time, so it was a kind of big thing for me for him to do that. And he was like massive influence on my career, and as I said, probably played a major part to get me to where I am now.
Aye. So your time at Ayr, mate, the kind of first season was kind of so finishing 8th. Second season promotion, third season relegation. We'll go into the relegation season in a minute, but sum up that season for us, mate, and culminating obviously in getting promotion. How was that for you, mate?
It was brilliant, to be fair, and we were a wee bit unlucky. We had Dunfermline in the league that year, and Dunfermline were full time, and they were strong. To be fair, they had a good side, and we were close up until Christmas. It was really close, and then after the Christmas period, we went on a kind of bad run, and they went on a good run, and just kind of stretched away from us. To be fair, and probably in the end they won it quite comfortably, to be honest with you. But obviously, we knew kind of we would have been in the playoffs kind of minimum, and it was just coming towards the end of the season. It was just a case of what position we were going to finish, second, third, or fourth. To be honest with you,
you can't figure it out, mate. Do you think you did it?
Yeah, I think because we knew if we finished second, we would have played third place, and with a few games to go, it was going to be us and definitely going to be us and Peterhead. So it was just a case of who finished second and third between us two. So we knew if we finished second, we would have got the home game second, the home leg second, basically. And I think it was the second last game of the season. We played them up there and we beat them 3 or 4-0. And I think that was like, after that, we were like we know we're playing them in the semis. So if we can turn up, produce this again, well, you know what I mean, you're one step into the finals, you know what I mean, straight away. So, and we managed to do that. Actually, we went back up there a couple of weeks later and beat them I think we beat them 3 or 4-1 as well in the semi-final. And then kind of, I think we beat them 2-1 maybe. I scored that actually, 2-1.
You scored a goal?
The second leg.
Scored 5 goals your career. I was looking at
the second leg. See, to be fair, I honestly think about half my goals have probably been against Peterhead. I think I scored 3 goals. I got all 3 in the same season, all against Peterhead. But we were confident, but to be fair, we scraped through in the end because over the final again is 2-legged, and Stranraer were much better than us over the 2 games. Much better than us. And to be fair, you kind of mentioned earlier, we Doc, scored an absolute belter. Down there, I think his left foot. I think it was volleying his left foot, and it was almost one of them, mate. It was because, as I said, they were better than us down there. It was a Tuesday night. We went down there to play, and they were just. I don't say they played off the park, but they were the better team. And obviously they were winning 1-0. We Doc scored that in the. Honestly, must have been about 93, 94
last few minutes on it.
And when we scored that, I think that killed them completely.
Mentality shifted there.
I think they thought we're going to go to. I mean, they're going to the last minute or whatever of the game. They're probably thinking we're going to go to Ayr on Saturday with a lead to defend. Like, it just completely changes the game. I think when Doc scored that, it just drained the life right out of them. And even to be fair, even in the second leg, there was nothing in the game. It was again 0-0, and then penalty kicks and big Greg Fleming, just unbelievable. To be fair, saved the first 3 penalties in the shootout. So if we'd missed from there, Doc missed actually.
Did he? I kept that one quiet.
Yes, he had a penalty. He had a penalty to win it.
Oh, he had the penalty. Bottle merchant.
I'm sure he did. He had the penalty. He had the penalty to. He had the penalty to win it, and he missed it. To be fair, I was nowhere near hitting it. I would have been 11th to be honest with you, if there was people hitting them. But yeah, we Doc, he missed the penalty, and Andy Graham then scored. So but it was great, to be fair.
How was the party after that, mate?
Oh, mental. And see, to be honest, in there,
Furies, was it?
We ended up in Furies. I went somewhere first. It's called Ask Now, Arthur Street Kitchen. I can't remember what it used to be called. But it was absolutely mental. And at the time, obviously, I was still young. Obviously, I'm still 21 at the time, and I remember we had a few experienced boys in the team, Peter Murphy and Ryan Stevenson. And I remember Steve-O saying to me at one point, because I'm probably steaming in this boozer after it. And I remember seeing Steve-O, and I could see him standing kind of back. It looked like he was just kind of taking everything in. Went up to him and said to him, I was like, what's up, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I think he just basically said, he was like, don't know how many of these you get. He was like, because he was obviously getting older at the time as well then. So he was like, I might not get another one of these to celebrate. I think he was just almost saying you just got to take it in, enjoy it, because I think at the time you just think, I was still young enough, so I was like, this is going to happen every year. You know what I mean? We'll win something, or we'll do this, or we'll do that every year. And you know yourself in football, it just doesn't happen. You have more lows than you do highs, probably. So it was it was unbelievable to get promoted, to be fair, because I felt the club should have been in. The championship is big enough to be in the championship and competing, and to it was a bit of probably more relief than anything to get promoted, to be honest with you. Especially being captain, I felt probably more responsibility of that for it, to be honest.
You touched on being the captain, mate, to say you. So how did you feel like you were a young captain or a a big club for that kind of level, mate? Did you feel maybe extra pressure on you, or was it because you're still quite young, a bit in that innocent naivety kind of way? You can maybe just take it, saying, "I'll take it on here, I'll do it." How did you take that, mate?
Probably a bit of both, to be honest, mate. The first thing I done was I spoke to, I think there was 3 or 4 boys from the year before that were staying, experienced players, Peter Murphy, Brian Gilmore, Martin Campbell, who had been at the club for a long time, and probably people you would have thought looking from the outside were probably not better choices, but probably more appropriate or whatever choices. So the first thing I done was I spoke to them, said to them, listen, the manager said blah, blah. And to be fair, they were all brilliant with me. They kind of just said, listen, we'll back you 100%. You ever need anything, let us know, whatever, blah, blah. So that straight away was a bit of relief for me. I wasn't maybe getting in and into the dressing room the first time and kind of thinking, maybe people think I shouldn't be the captain or I shouldn't be this, or who's he? He's only 20, whatever. So knowing I had their kind of not approval, but their backing was a big thing for me, to be honest with you. And as you say, a part of me was kind of young enough, but
bring it on, mate.
Take it on,
aye. So, like we say, next season, mate, was a bit of kind of dynamic change, or was it maybe a step up level that led to obviously relegation? We'll obviously talking about you leaving the club in the season, but did something happen maybe, or was it maybe just the step up level?
To be fair, in the season, I still think we should have done better than what we did. We had good players, and I don't think we played or got the results that we should have got. Obviously, we were basically still part time, and in that league it was, I think, Dumbarton were in it, who were part time, and everybody else was full time. I'm trying to remember anyone else that would have been part time in it. I don't think there was. And obviously, to be fair as well, I think that year we were almost unlucky. You know what I mean? I think come Christmas time, St Mirren were basically done. They were gone, and then Jack Ross got the job.
Was that season? Fuck guy, man. He fucking turned that around. He got fine, man.
The second half, I think Hibs won it that year, and the second half of the season, St Mirren got more points than Hibs. Obviously, St Mirren were bottom in January, so at the time, almost in January, you were kind of thinking, if we can get a couple of wins here, whatever, we could avoid the playoffs as well. We could just stay up automatically, nothing. And then, as I said, Jack Ross came in. St Mirren went on an unbelievable run. We actually that season we played St Mirren 7 times. Because we played them in 2 of the cups. We played them in a replay in one of the cups as well. So we ended up playing St Mirren 7 times that year. So I was sick to death for them, to be honest with you. But we should have done better than what we did, to be honest with you. But it was just it was one of those things that a lot of things kind of didn't go right for us. And listen, at the end of the day, you finish where you should. You know, I mean, in a league, it's over enough games to you finish where you should. And unfortunately for us that year, it was the last day we went down, but we should have done better, to be honest.
It's part of football, isn't it, mate? Really.
I know. It was just, I think it was just frustrating the way we gave ourselves a chance towards the end. It went into the last day, as I said, away to Raith Rovers, and it was actually going to be us or Raith that went down. And on the last day, we didn't get a good enough result to overtake them. So, frustrating, to be honest.
Well, you going down south in a second, mate. But at this stage in your career, how that you said that you maybe kicked on it there. How are you feeling personally? Obviously, it was a disappointing season, but how did you feel? You've kind of, but as a player at this point, you're captain of the club, mate. You're still pretty young. Do you feel as if you've kind of came back? Feel like you're talking about your kind of injury, your kind of setback, and maybe not finding your feet at first, but you maybe feel more established in it.
Yeah, definitely. I feel kind of harsh to maybe say it, but even though like the team didn't have a great season, I felt I played well that year. Obviously, I made the team of the year that year, which I mean was good going, to be fair, considering we got relegated. Do you know what I mean? So it was voted for, by the other players in the league, to be honest. So the fact that they had kind of voted me in that almost indicated to me that you done all right this year. You had a good season. Obviously, listen, I'd have traded making the team of the year if it meant we stayed up, but it wasn't to be. But I knew I'd kind of got back to a level that I was happy with. And I just got to the stage at the end of that year, like obviously going back to League One. I didn't really want to go back to playing League One again, and it wasn't actually until a few weeks after I'd left the club then decided to go full time. If I'd known that, it could have maybe been a different decision I'd have made, but at the time, obviously, I thought the club was still going to stay part time. They were back in League One, and to be fair, I knew that there was a couple of clubs were interested in me leaving and going there. So it was something I kind of mutually agreed that we and McCall that I was going to leave. To be honest, and to be honest, he never really actually said to me ever about offering me a new contract. I think he always just almost assumed. I was going to move. I don't think it was like, he didn't want to keep me. It was more eventually he knew.
Being real.
I think he knew I had a good season, and it was like, he's going to move on anyway. Almost offering a contract would have been, pointless. I think he thought anyway. So I knew there was a few clubs interested, and it was probably just the best. Time to then move on.
How do you look back your time at Ayr, because even when you announced you're coming on the show, mate, you got a bit of a decent response, have a few of them, mate. How do you look back your time? I take you've got a bit of affinity towards it, mate.
Oh, I loved it, mate. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And see, to be honest with you, I genuinely hope I do eventually go back. I really do want to go back and play there, because it's probably where I've enjoyed playing the most, to be honest. We've got a good relationship with a lot of people down there, especially behind the scenes, and good relationship with also the old manager, chairman and stuff like that, who's just left, to be honest with you. But I've got a good relationship with a lot of people down there, and as I said, I hope in some capacity, hopefully I'll be playing, but hopefully I'll be able to go back down there at some point.
I need to ask you about your mate as well, Paul Slane. When did you first meet him? I know, mate. Did you meet him at Motherwell? Was it Ayr?
No.
He just followed you a bit.
Well, I met him at Motherwell, but he didn't know who I was, and I didn't really know who he was. He came in a couple of times when he'd first left Celtic to try and keep fit and stuff like that.
Was he a player? Was he a player? Aye.
Oh, he was very good, mate. Aye, very good. Oh, aye. And then eventually he signed when I was at Ayr. Would have been the first year at Ayr. He was there the first year at Ayr just before Ian McCall came in, to be honest. And he played. I think he played about 4 or 5 months, and then that's where I first kind of first met him. But yeah, it's mental.
Aye. What'd you make him now? Yeah. Celebrity now. Fair play to him, mate.
Won't get any time for me anymore, but I need to speak to him actually, because he keeps tipping us to get beat nearly every week when he does his predictions thing. He keeps picking our teams. He picks it on Saturday there, so I messaged him about it, so see what I get back from him. But now he's done. Listen, he's done really well, and he obviously, when he first left football, and that, he probably wasn't in a great place, but he's got himself. I mean, good place, and now he's enjoying what he's doing, and hopefully, good luck. He can kind of keep going, and he's obviously they've got the hydro in that book, so hopefully that eventually gets to take place. You know what I mean?
I suppose so, mate. So back on yourself, mate. So how did Walsall become an option for you, then, mate? How did that come about for you?
I think it's kind of out of the blue, to be honest with you, because I'd actually went in and Jack Ross was now the manager of St Mirren. So I'd went in and spoke to St Mirren. Was probably going to sign there, to be honest with you. And then kind of out of the blue, it came up. And they just kind of basically, I went down and met the manager and the assistant manager at Gretna. Drove down one day, met them at Gretna, just to have a chat, just to say what, you know what I mean, their kind of plans for the club, plans for me, whatever. And then thought it was probably the best option, you know what I mean? I wasn't sure, in the back of my mind it was, I have came off the season of getting relegated. I have come from part-time and I'm getting a chance to go to League One in England, a big opportunity, and it might not come again. So decided that was kind of the best option for me, and as I said, met them first time, and then we kind of agreed everything almost the couple of days after that, to be honest with you, and that was me kind of moving down.
Do you have any hesitation about it, mate? About maybe moving away, such, or did you maybe stay in Scotland? Was there any kind of thought process that way, mate?
Not so much, to be honest with you. They were Walsall were very good in terms of organising everything for me. They got obviously the kind of best area and stuff like that to live in. Everything like that was sorted for me, which took a lot of the pressure, but took a lot of the kind of the hardship or whatever stuff down there. Stress away. So the fact they'd done all that, it was more probably just excitement, mate, because I was going to play. I knew I was going to be playing against teams that I would never have played against in my career. You know what I mean? Played in some of the stadiums that I knew I would never have played in. You know what I mean? Going down there. So it was more kind of excitement, and that was me kind of moving back full time again. You know what I mean? I was going back to full time football, so it was more of a I'm excited to get going. You know what I mean?
Going to the football, you said, but I said to you before we started about wee Teddy. Some of us might know about that. Do you want to give us a wee kind of story about that, mate?
Yeah, it was just a boy actually seen his uncle put something up on Twitter. Obviously, he was almost still a baby. You know what I mean? He was only 1.5, and obviously had a real bad disease, and it was obviously life threatening. It meant he wasn't going to kind of live to very old, to be honest with you. And they were doing something about coming to the game at Walsall. Obviously, all his family were all mad Walsall fans. So they were coming to the game at Walsall, and I just kind of seen the tweet that his uncle had put out, and just kind of messaged him privately and just said, listen, anything you want me to do, anything like that, I'll sort it out for you. Meet you before the game or after the game, whatever it is. Because he was going to be eventually the mascot. So he eventually got the mascot in one of the games, the Wimbledon game, and I've not obviously he was always tubed up, and he'd struggled breathing and stuff like that. So he was always kind of he always tubed up, and we were walking out for the kind of Wimbledon game, and I obviously had to carry him out, and I was never been so nervous just walking onto a football pitch in my life, and just because I knew obviously how kind of much responsibility I had kind of in my arms walking out with him, and obviously I've got a kind of great relationship now with his family and stuff like that. It's something kind of is one of the kind of most kind of best memories about playing at Walsall was kind of being able to kind of have that kind of relationship with him and his family as well. So yeah, no, it was a big moment for me, and I think his family as well. They kind of always showed me kind of a lot of love as well when I was down there.
Gives him a bit of comfort, mate. Do you know what I mean? And there's people caring, and they're obviously going through a hard time, mate. So fair play to you for doing that, mate.
No, I really enjoyed them.
So back on the football, mate. How do you find the standard, mate? Then back in there, because people talk about obviously in the SPL now, mate. How do you find the standard for there to maybe the SPL now, mate? People talk about just levels or whatever, but how do you find it, mate, down there?
For me, it would when a lot of people, to be fair, ask me about that, and a lot of people ask how would Livingston do in League One, and it's so hard to judge. The biggest thing for me was just seeing it the physicality in terms of it's 46 league games, which if you play 46 games in Scotland in a year, you're probably getting to the later stages of both cups. If you're playing 46 games, you've had a right good season in Scotland, and that's just it's just the league down there, 46. Then you're obviously involved in the FA Cup, you're involved in the League Cup you're involved in the A2 from almost from the very start. You know what I mean? The first round, involved in the. I'm trying to think what it is now. Is it the Papa John's trophy or the trophy for the teams out with the championship? So, and that's a group stage. And the way it's obviously similar to the competition they have in Scotland for the lower division teams. Not the Betfred,
Ramsden's Cup, not the Challenge Cup. Aye. They get you new, mate.
So it's basically a Challenge Cup, but the way they work it down there is it's obviously in a group stage, and in your group stage games, if you play on the Saturday and then the Tuesday's the cup game, from the squad on the Saturday, you have to have 50% still playing on the Tuesday. So it wasn't a case of you could just completely play the reserves in it. It was still, you were having to play a lot. For me, I would just getting used to trying to, play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. You didn't train a lot, mate. I would never say I came back a better player, but I don't think it was because of training, if you know what I mean. I don't think I improved through training.
Just because you're constantly playing football?
You've hardly ever done it. You're constantly playing games. A lot of the time with the travelling you've got as well, you're just doing recovery sessions. You're not really out in the training pitch regularly trying to work on stuff and get better at certain things. You're just. Do
you enjoy that, Nicky? Did you prefer it, maybe?
I enjoyed it. It's good. Listen, it's like you just want to play games. That's the thing you like the most. But it was difficult, to be fair. And as I said, maybe me going from part time to that situation probably wasn't the best. Probably wasn't the best. Almost.
Did you have to up your game then, mate? Did you have to maybe do a bit more before you went in, or did you maybe have to be working harder when you were there?
During the first season, the manager kind of pulled me and said, "Listen, you've been." But I think it was after the first maybe 15 games or something. Pulled me and said, "Listen, you've been really good, but obviously they've got all the heart rate stuff and all on you." And they basically just said, he was like, "Listen, we think from where you came from, we think you'd be good coming out for a few weeks, taking a couple of weeks out the team, and then just kind of get yourself ready to then go again." Obviously at the time, it's like if a manager tells you need a rest, what's your first reaction is, "No, I don't. I'm fine." You're just saying that because you're wanting to drop, you don't want to play me or whatever. Which was fine, you know what I mean? Because as I said, that I knew myself, obviously coming from part time, it was a big jump, and I went in straight away, and you were playing 2 times a week for and it was different. It was obviously harder. It was League One's a lot harder than the year I had before, which was the Championship in Scotland. League One was a lot stronger than that, and there's see, fair mate, a lot of big clubs in League One. You know what I mean? Sunderland, and at the time, the first year, Sunderland were in it, Charlton were in it, Portsmouth were in it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of not big team. Bolton, there's a lot of big teams. You know what I mean? That
Aye.
I mean, 2 years before it, Sunderland were playing in the Premier League.
Aye.
So you know what I mean? It was a big jump that way from probably playing in the Championship in Scotland. But listen, it was one that you know what I mean. I wanted to try and tackle head on. You know what I mean? But no, it was. I really enjoyed it, to be honest, mate.
So how did you find the whole kind of 2-year experience thing? Because did you get relegated? No.
Second year,
right?
aye. Second year on the first year on the last day we stayed up, and
Right,
second year on the last day we went down.
Did you celebrate when you stayed up?
Aye, we
Did
did
you have a
because
party
it
and
was.
that,
We didn't really know so much had a party, but the boys, like, we eventually, I think it was a couple of days after the game, we kind of went out and stuff like that. And see, to be honest, it was because, as I say, Walsall, in terms of club size, they could probably be in League One, but they're always kind of going to be down maybe the bottom end. But it was more to do with, see, the budget Walsall have got compared to some of the teams in that league, like.
like you say, Sunderland and that,
crazy money. So, and we, like, as a club, it is an achievement for Walsall to stay in League One, like, consistently. And obviously, it's kind of almost been proved since. You know what I mean? After we get relegated, the 2 years they've not been anywhere near the playoffs in League Two. To be honest, to come back up, you know what I mean? So it almost kind of maybe shows where the club is at. You know what I mean? In terms of. I mean, we were punching above our weight being in League One. Listen, hopefully they'll be able to get back to it, and I mean, I've got my fingers crossed for that. But the first year, you know what I mean, we did do well to stay up in the end. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, second year it didn't quite work out like that.
Aye. So before the topic come back up the road, did you the whole experience then? Was it worth it? And do you remember, like, back to I've played in South now and stuff like that. You've played, like you say, some of the big stadiums, and do you play against any big name players there, like maybe household names?
To be fair, mate, both years Walsall have got because of where Walsall is, a connection with Aston Villa. So we played them both pre-seasons. Playing the first year pre-season, that was John Terry's first game for Villa. So John Terry,
did you play against them, right?
Yeah, John Terry played that day. To be fair, loads of them played that day. Obviously, Grealish played.
Hope you didn't take your misses that day.
No chance. Nah, but like, even like, I was speaking to somebody not long ago about that game. That's when we played, and Jack Grealish, and I swear to God, you could be genuinely like
player, man. You
could be touching him in terms of like getting close to him, and you were so far away from ever getting the ball. Like, you were never ever getting it. Like, he just, I think he actually liked the fact that you think you're almost there, eh? Like, you think you're going to have a nibble, you're going to get the ball here, and then it's just like, see you later. And then obviously playing in the kind of the games were good, and we played Stoke pre-season. We had kind of the Barcelona boys at the time. I think it was like Bojan.
Bojan,
Athley and stuff like that. So, and then, to be fair, league-wise, Sunderland,
Is that Mark Hughes' Stoke team?
Who was your manager at the time?
Because they played some decent football at Stoke.
It could have been, aye.
Because they played some decent football at that time. They were the actual Stoke City that teams fought over.
Even when we played Sunderland, like McGeady and stuff like that were still there, and so they had, you know what I mean, they were boys that were earning an absolute fortune, you know what I mean, to be playing kind of League One football in England, in England, sorry.
It's worth it in that sense. It makes, like you say, you're talking about, you could have maybe stayed at areas, things being different, but in that stage, when you've took the jump, mate, you've went down and played, get some of the players, some of the stadium and stuff like that, mate. So that's what it's all about, mate, really, mate.
My first game down there was Bramall Lane. We played Sheffield United in the cup.
Oh, brilliant!
I mean, it was, you know what I mean, that was kind of, for me, the big, not a big difference, but like, you know what I mean, whereas up here, for talking's sake, I'd stayed at Ayr. My first game or whatever for Ayr might have been, with no disrespect whatsoever, but it could have been against like a Stenhousemuir.
Aye.
Whereas my first game down there was
massive, big clubs down there, like you say, mate. Even through levels, mate. Through levels, mate. Massive. And that's what's odd, playing against the big clubs that have got odd history. Even down the levels, mate. So
that's all you want. You just want that wee bit of luck in the cup and getting, we get a big name in the cup. I mean, you're only, as I say, you're a couple of rounds away from playing a Man United, from playing a Man City, something like that. You know what I mean? Not sure we'd have done great against them, but you're not far away from playing them.
Just like we say, mate, you end up come back up the road to Livy. What was the kind of catalyst there? Did you were you looking for it yourself, or was there maybe an opportunity came about? Was it?
Yeah, no. To be fair, mate, I wasn't in like a major rush to come back up the road. Walsall had offered me a new deal to stay down there. Another couple of clubs down in England. I'd spoke to a few teams, and one of our teams offered me a deal down there. And I wasn't as I said, I wasn't in a rush because I enjoyed it down there. As you said, mate, you play a lot of games, and that's what you kind of want to do as a footballer. You know what I mean? You want to keep playing and kind of different experiences, different clubs and that down there. And when the Livingston one came up, it was just spoke to my family and stuff about it. And obviously, I'd never played in the Premier League, which was a big draw. You know what I mean? I was in the Championship. So, and obviously, when I was down there, I still kept an eye on how football and that was going up here. And obviously, I knew Livingston the season before. I think they finished 8th, maybe in the end, or 9th. But I knew they started the season brilliant. I think they were actually top after the first 10 games or something like that.
They were flying, mate. We've flying ever since, mate. It's mental what they've done, mate. It's mad.
So I knew they were. And when I spoke to the manager and the assistant and stuff like that, and a few people at the club, I knew they wanted to kick on. It wasn't a case of they were just wanting to survive every year. They wanted to push on and be one of the better teams. They thought that there was an opportunity to be that new team, but that team that starts pushing clubs in the league. And thankfully we've managed to do that, and that was probably one of the big attractions, to be honest with you, mate.
Aye. So we'll talk about David Martindale in a second, but he was in the kind of background with Gary Holt, wasn't he?
Yeah, Gary Holt was the manager, yeah.
So what was he? Obviously he said to you kind of push forward stuff like that, but how did you find that kind of first season with him, and then kind of changing to the kind of whole situation, David Martindale taking over? Was there maybe a kind of, I don't know, because we've heard from the outside in, there's been a lot of kind of, no controversy at the club, but they've had quite a lot of managers in the last 4 or 5 years. But like you say, mate, the club, they've just went like that. The last 4 or 5 years, just kept pushing forward. What's it been like at the club? Is it a transparent club? He seems to be a real team bond. But what I'm trying to get is was there any unrest at any time or a change of managers, or has it just been one kind of close-knit group which have kind of pulled together no matter what happened?
Yeah, no, I think it's since I first went in, obviously it was, as you said, it was Gary Holt was the manager at first, and he was really, I really enjoyed working with him as well. He only had a Kilmarnock tattoo, badge tattooed in his leg. That was his only issue, but no, he was really good to work with, and I really enjoyed working with him. I was obviously my first year, I played the first, I think it was 12 games of the season or something, and then I never played again. I had done my knee again, so I missed most of the season. So I was still obviously travelling and stuff like that with the squad to all the games. But I really enjoyed working with him, and it was obviously for us it was disappointing when he kind of left, because since Davies came in, he's not changed a lot. There's not really been a big. The way we play hasn't changed from Gary to Davy. The manager, the way we play hasn't changed. There's not been a big, massive turnaround in players during the season. We felt as a squad at the start of the season we weren't unlucky, because, as I said, you get probably the results over the course of the season that you deserve, but there wasn't a lot in the games that we were losing. We were losing the games by most weeks by a goal, or we were drawing, or we were conceding a goal late on. We were making wee mistakes that were costing us, to be honest with you. And obviously, since Davies came in, we've just, to be fair, mate, we've not made those as players on the park. We've not made those mistakes really, and that was a big influence in why we went on that kind of crazy run. Aye.
Do you think he's got enough credit, mate? Because I feel as if Livy are still because he's maybe get the pitch or whatever, but he's get a bit of hard on it sometimes for maybe being this kind of team or whatever. But he's some good players, mate. He's not going to run
That's it.
Do you have?
That's the thing. We
how
know
many good players, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I think as a squad and stuff like that, we all know like a lot of what other fans think of us and stuff like that. And as you said, a lot of it comes from, first off, straight away, don't like the Astro Park. That's the first thing. It's never a problem when teams come and beat us. It's only ever a problem when teams come and they can't beat us. Well, obviously, the style of play. I mean, I think over the last few years, Livingston have been big, physical and strong and stuff like that. But I mean, if you look at a Livingston team now, I mean, even Sunday probably in the cup final when we play, you'll probably be lucky if there's 4 guys 6 foot.
Aye.
I mean, everybody. We're not a team of we aren't a team of giants that we've got a reputation because we make it. I think we make it very hard for teams to play against us, and teams don't like that. Why would you like it if somebody makes it hard for you? But that's where the reputation comes from. We make it hard for teams, and they just, as I said, they don't like it, and they can only, as I said, it's not an issue. These things aren't an issue when teams beat us. It's only an issue when, I mean, they come and, we win or we get a good result. And obviously last year we had an unbelievable home record, but we've not been great at home this year. We've lost a lot more games at home, a lot more goals at home this year than we did last year. And then this year we've been much, much better away from home than we were last year. So, I mean, the park almost element of it is gone straight away this year. You know what I mean? It doesn't even come into it. So, listen, we know ourselves what people kind of, or a lot of people maybe think about us, but see, to be honest, if anything, we probably use that as kind of
motivation.
Added motivation, added kind of, listen, we don't have to prove anyone wrong. We know we've got good footballers. We're not just a kind of a big bruising team, you know what I mean? A lot of people probably put us out as.
So we're going to the gaffer, mate. He's obviously came for a wee bit of kind of personal kind of issues this season. Fair play to him for doing that, and I think he's shown he's a fit and proper person to go and run his done that. And I think obviously a lot of people taking to him. He's a real kind of football man. He comes across, a pretender. He's got this philosophy. Maybe this kind of thing kept into football these days. In football, he's the proper kind of Scottish kind of maybe coach. But again, he comes from the kind of background of junior football, Broxburn and stuff like that. Yeah. Is it a difference there between maybe the coaches you've had in the past that have maybe, or you had a career in football and stuff like that? What's different with Martindale what's different to the coaches you've maybe had? What's he got that's maybe different?
I think Davey's he's obviously very, maybe seen some of his interviews and that, he's very straight. Straight down the middle. He'll tell you. He'll not really come out with. He's not going to come out with maybe, I don't want to say phrases and that, but quotes and that kind of bullshit that you hear for a lot of managers. You know what I mean? Just almost saying the right things. He'll just say to you what he says to you on a camera. He would say to us. You know what I mean? Behind the scenes. You know what I mean? He doesn't change that way, and I think that's why he probably appeals to a lot of people, and a lot of people maybe not feel a connection, but feel that kind of.
I like him. They can relate to him, can't they? Especially the punters.
Definitely they can kind of relate to him. But see, to be fair, I think he probably because how open and honest he is in his interviews, he's probably going to be known for maybe being like that. Whereas it probably takes away some of his. You don't go on. That kind of run that we went on. 14 games. I think he's in terms of like for your first gig at it or first job at it. I think he's like the 3 guys in Scotland ever done better. For the I was going to ask you.
You said there basically because people say he's this guy who's just came to junior football. He's doing all right now, but he's probably taken away from his actual football kind of use that he actually has got. Didn't kind of brain that he's got because again, you don't get Livingston at a cup final. You don't get this unbeaten run without that actual quality as a gaffer that he's got. So
see during the unbeaten run, we very rarely played the same. See this 11 that started one week. We very rarely went the same 11 each week. He would watch a lot of the other teams, find areas he thinks we can exploit almost, and he'll almost, just for talking's sake, thinks another team's got a centre midfield is a major issue for another team, or centre back's another issue. He'll have no problem, I think, of dropping someone who's done very well the week before to play someone else that he thinks in this game we should play this player because this is the best way to get it. We changed a lot in those 14 games. We changed the way we played a lot in those 14 games.
He's changed against Celtic, didn't you? At him.
I completely.
Half your team are out.
That just kind of almost sums it up. I think we made 8 changes that game, because I think that was before the semi-final. So we made 8 changes, and that was the game after Celtic brought everybody back. So Celtic had everybody back that game. We made 8 changes. The system we went with was completely different from anything we'd played that year, this year, sorry. And it was, again, basically Davey that's the biggest thing I've seen from him, from other coaches. He identifies a lot of issues with other teams more than I've ever seen.
Smart,
so he finds, probably, as I said, areas or problems he thinks you can exploit in another team, and he probably does that more than any other manager I've had, to be honest. And listen, first, I know he's played 17 games now, and we've lost a couple, but I'm sure if you offered him for the next 17 games, we'll lose another 2. You know what I mean? Take that, you know what I mean? I'm not going to complain, to be honest.
Definitely, mate. So going into it now, mate. Cup final Sunday.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now? And what's the build-up be like this week? Is it anything different? Are you doing anything special the weekend before the game, or is it just another game of football?
Yeah, that's, again, probably going back to just the manager again. He's tried to make it that this is another week. It's you're not playing St Johnstone for a cup on Sunday. You're playing St Johnstone this week on Sunday. Just happens to be in a bigger stadium, and I think that's the way in terms of training, the build up to the game, everything we're doing. He's tried to build it the exact same. We're not doing anything different, not doing anything fancy. Obviously, again, gave us the option of driving and stuff to the stadium, gave the option of staying over in a hotel the night before and stuff like that. And boys all kind of, with him as well, kind of agreed that we want to just take it as this is just another game. That's the way we think we play the best. We play our best when we do just kind of treat it as it's another game. Obviously, there's a massive trophy or a massive kind of reward at the end of it if you can win, but the best way for us to deal with it, or to try and get a good result, is just to treat it the exact same as we would any other game, to be honest, mate.
It's murder in it, but fucking coronavirus. Mate, I mean,
the biggest thing I'm upset about is the fact that there won't be any kind of, first of all, like fans in at the clubs, because both clubs, St Johnstone and Livingston, it's probably both clubs' best opportunity to win a trophy, and they'll get in a long time, mate. You know what I mean? In Scotland, very rarely do you get to a cup final and you don't have to beat a Rangers or a Celtic. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen often. You know what I mean? So both clubs, I'm sure, will see it as a massive opportunity, and for the fans, you know what I mean. Again, both sets of fans could probably be going into a cup final thinking, I mean, we potentially could be the favourites to win this. You know what I mean? Whereas most times, a Livingston or a St Johnstone, if they get to a cup final, they turn up, and as I said, they sit in their kind of maybe their smaller wee section. 3/4 of the ground is full of blue, or 3/4 of the ground is full of green. And you are a major underdog. You need all the luck in the world for it to go your way to get it that day. So I think both clubs will look at it as I said, a major opportunity, and as just a pity the kind of the fans and stuff can't be there, and obviously family and stuff like that as well. It would have been good for, I mean, as you know, like as you said, my dad anyway, the kind of the support probably my family and that have given me kind of over the years would have been great for them. Listen, regardless of the result, been great for them to come and see me, you know, playing in a National Cup final at Hampden. So it's disappointing that way, but listen, it just seems like it's the way it is the new, mate, innit, to be honest.
Aye.
There's a lot worse probably going on than fans not being able to go to the game. So it's
he's a winner, mate. He's winning Europa League next season anyway. Your dad can come watch you then, mate. Don't worry about it, mate. Do you know what I mean, mate?
Exactly. No, that's a kind of, I mean, almost the wee kind of incentive that could be there. You know what I mean? With if certain other teams win maybe the cups and the Scottish Cup or whatever, there could be an opportunity for be able to play in Europa League qualifiers, and I mean that would be unbelievable, especially for a club like Livingston. You know what I mean? As I said, they were 3 years ago. 3 years ago we were in League One. I mean, 3 years later you're in a National Cup final and you potentially could be playing in Europe. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
Has he told you you're starting yet?
No, that's why I'm not nervous yet. I'm not nervous yet because I don't know if I'm playing. Saturday afternoonish, hopefully, when we do the teams and does the team and stuff like that. As long as I find that I'm playing, that maybe when the nerves will kind of maybe kick in a wee bit. But as I say, just now you just trying not to get nervous.
Focusing, mate.
It's going to happen. You know what I mean? Eventually, everybody playing in the game will get nervous at some point. But I think if you can maybe hold it off and get nervous maybe just before, would be better than. I mean, because you can't right now. There's almost no point in getting nervous now because I can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? I can't influence the game until Sunday. So
I put it on you then. Is it the biggest game of your life?
Oh, aye, definitely. You know what I mean? It's
aye.
As I said, National Cup final for a team like Livingston. You know what I mean? If you can win a bit of silverware, as I said, with a club the size of Livingston, would be incredible. And I mean, I know you'll probably you'll not like it anyway, but I mean, it's the last 12 trophies. It said Celtic's name to be the club that then goes underneath that would be obviously. Listen, I'm not saying if we were to win on Sunday, Livingston's broke Celtic's stronghold or whatever. You know what I mean? Or the trophies, but
like you say, first team to win a trophy.
You know what I mean? It'll be the next name after it. So both clubs have kind of got that incentive as well as being a kind of a major kind of opportunity for because both clubs haven't won loads and loads of trophies in their careers, you know what I mean, in their history. So it's massive that way. Just fingers crossed we can
mate.
We have to do.
Fingers crossed, mate, and hopefully he's dead to me. I'll be watching it anyway, mate.
Thank you.
So I don't want to get too far ahead and stuff like the future, mate. But again, any kind of hopes, ambitions, anything you still want to do in your career before you chuck it. And I'll put a wee bit better on you again, mate. A couple of times you've been touted for the Scotland team. And again, I was talking to your mate, Doc. We're talking about the kind of formation they play and stuff like that. Do you think maybe you can maybe sneak into there? Because that position's maybe no nailed down, and I think personally you maybe suit that probably better than any kind of right back in that league, don't you? Is that something you've been thinking about, or are you just kind of something kind of partner away and thinking? But obviously any player's going to be thinking that, but
more for myself. I'm probably more thinking, you know what I mean, about each game, because I know if I continue to keep playing well, then I'm almost doing everything that I can. You know what I mean? It is something that, as much as you can play well, you genuinely you don't have any real influence over it. Like I can't really influence who gets picked or anything like that. So I can only do my best on a Saturday or a Sunday, Tuesday, whenever I play. And listen, if the performances and that I put in are good enough, then to eventually maybe get involved, then that'll be, you know what I mean, unbelievable. It'll be brilliant. But as I said, it's something that you just got to. It's great to be kind of listen. It's unbelievable to be linked to it. You know what I mean? As I said, it's only been full time for 3.5 years now. So, so you know what I mean, to even be, I mean, quoted or linked to that at all is unbelievable. But as I said, if I keep doing well for myself, it means Livingston will hopefully be doing well. And you know what I mean? As I said, you can't really do much more than that. You know what I mean? It's then down to other people's opinions and you know what I mean? That's fine. You know what I mean? They didn't do too bad without me anyway. You know what I mean? So they done well last good few games.
Obviously, you're in at Rossfield and about coaching now, mate. Is that something you're thinking about doing about a few years' time once you've chucked that wee bit?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of doing my badges and stuff like that as well just now. So definitely something kind of I want
Take
to
out your
definitely
dad
stay
drum.
involved in football. Basically, I think that's why he keeps getting on at me about doing stuff like that. So I think that probably will be. He wants me to take over there. But no, it's definitely something I want to be involved in. And as I said, I'm doing my badges and stuff like that just now, helping take should be Rosville's 20s, but unfortunately we've just not been able to. It's been stop-start. It's been a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there. So David Gormley and Sean Higgins have been brilliant with me. They've had me in a lot with the senior team, and because they were still able to play, because they're obviously in the new league, the pyramid system. So I think they basically classed as professional as well. So I've been able to go in there and do coaching, which has been brilliant. It's been a good experience, to be honest, because it wasn't something I was expecting to be able to do. I thought I would just have been with the 20s. So no, it's been good. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I've still got a few years left playing now, but eventually, yeah, it's something I definitely want to get involved in.
Fair play, mate. That's us, mate. Brilliant, mate.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wasn't too bad, mate.
No, it was good. No, it was good. I've got as I said, I've got a couple. I was on yesterday, the SFA. It was like a coaching podcast, so I was on that one yesterday. One of my mates actually, he takes, can't remember who it was. His mate takes a youth team under 14s or something, and he asked any chance you could get on and do just a question and answer with him this week. And this week at all. I don't know if it's just timing with the final or whatever, but I just don't have any days this week to do it.
Apologies.
So no, definitely, mate. I really enjoyed it. It was good, but it's just been this week's just, as I say, I don't know if it's because of the build up to the final.
He's doing anything as a club for it? Or he's going any kind of fresh in for it? No.
Can he? Well, I don't think
I suppose so.
That's the thing. It's not really. It's one of them. You just hopefully get a result. And the other thing, it's no ideal for us is we get our rescheduled game with Rangers on Wednesday night.
Oh, have you?
How on earth
you guys
managed to put that in? Honestly, any chance you could have the week after, or I know it's probably a lot to do with maybe Rangers being in Europa League, and this is probably a free week for them that they can do it on that Wednesday, but. When it first got announced, I was like, any fucking chance?
That's
what was your water on that because of when they cut? Nah,
if he's got any plans like that, no.
That's the thing. They've no the club's no set planning. But again, I don't really think
he can do much.
He can do much because obviously it's even for us to go back to Livingston, even to go back to the football club. I don't think you can do anything because then we're still meant to be when we eat lunch and that just now we're 2 or 3 at a table, so you'd be sitting 2 at a table or whatever, not able to drink or that.
That's anyway, not that.
You know what I mean? We'll be driving to Livingston as well, so if you can have a beer and get yourself up the road after it or anything. So I think it will just need to be. Hopefully, we'll maybe plan something. Few months down the line or something, have a dinner or something like that. Hopefully if we're successful, you know what I mean. When people are allowed, fucking socialise again. Fucking hell, we'll be like this. This will be on Sunday night. Me and all the boys.
He's in party Sunday night.
It's in party, man. Jesus. We get on to download that. Was that the app that was going about? Was it House Party or something? Was it the app?
I've seen a few of them, mate.
We need to all download that.
Hopefully he's there, mate. Anyway, man.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully he comes to. Aye, mate. Right, Nicky, mate. Brilliant, mate. Honestly, I appreciate that if you doing that, mate. Honestly.
No problem. Anytime, mate. Anytime. Anything at all, just let me know, mate. Just let me know. I've got my number on that now anyway. So
brilliant, mate. Brilliant, mate. Some man, Nicky boy.
Top man.
All the best, mate. All the best for Sunday again, mate. All the best, mate.
Top man. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye bye.